For days, the exact location of Kremlin critic Alexei Navalny has been a secret. But we now know where he is, and Navalny himself is describing it as a, quote, real concentration camp. This was posted to his Instagram account on Monday. Navalny or his team said he was inside a notorious penal colony outside of Moscow. The photo of him in the post is an old one, but Navalny said his head had been shaved. He said inmates are under constant surveillance and that a prison guard wakes him every hour at night. Navalny is serving several years behind bars for violating parole terms while he was recovering in Germany from poisoning. World powers, including Germany, have demanded Navalny's release. Let's get an update on that situation now from journalist Theo Merz, who joins us from Moscow. Theo, what do we know about the penal colony number 2?
Well, we'd heard from former inmates, even before Mr. Navalny was transferred there, that this is a very tough institution. There have been reports of harsh conditions, psychological pressure on inmates, certain violence. One former prisoner even said that this was where the state sent people when they want to break them. And then, as you say, some more information coming through from Navalny's Instagram post yesterday, this constant surveillance. He compared it to a concentration camp. He also compared it to George Orwell's 1984, video cameras everywhere. So even though we haven't seen inside the prison, we don't have any images of his cell, we know that this is a very difficult place to be indeed.
Speaking of a very difficult place, Russia's penal camps are notorious for brutal conditions, torture and even death. So far, Navalny seems to be okay. Is he at risk, though?
He's afforded a certain protection by his status. He is probably the world's most prominent political prisoner at the moment. And as we've seen through this Instagram post, he is able to get messages out, most likely from his lawyers. He is able, unlike the vast majority of other Russian prisoners, to communicate with the outside world. So he is protected in some way. But then, as you say, he is coming under psychological pressure. He's being woken up every night, once an hour throughout the night. So it's certainly not that he's getting particularly special treatment or not that he's being left alone by these prison wardens.
Well, that treatment, of course, is considered torture by some. And how did supporters and the family of Navalny react to this message?
Well, we don't have any statement from his family yet. Supporters have been sharing it very widely on social media. There's certainly the feeling that any news is not necessarily good news, but it's definitely a relief, because he's been out of contact for the last few days. He was out of contact before, during his jailing, when he was being transferred from one institution to another. And whenever that happens, there is a lot of anxiety about where he is and if anything might have happened to him. So the reaction to this it's certainly calmed his supporters to a certain extent, just to know where he is, even if it is in an institution of this kind.
Theo, today, Navalny was expected to attend a hearing in a Moscow court via video link. At issue was his lawyer's accusation, really, that Moscow is doing too little to investigate Navalny's poisoning. What came out of this hearing?
Well, the hearing's actually been postponed until next week. It was a very brief court hearing. His lawyer was launching a complaint, launching an appeal against the lack of investigation into his poisoning in Siberia. We actually didn't hear from Navalny at all in the end. We just heard from a state prosecutor who said that he didn't see any reason for this complaint to be upheld. It's almost certainly not going to be upheld. The authorities aren't going to investigate anything that they don't want to investigate. So really, Navalny's team are just doing what they can to keep his case in the legal system, keep his case in the news, and keep attention focused on his plight while he is in this prison.
Thank you very much for that update, Theo Mertz.